Good morning, everyone. Lots going on as usual. Today's Wednesday, October 8th, 2025, and the sentencing of Tamara Lich and Chris Barber happened yesterday. The verdict happened a while ago. They had to drive from where they live 3,000 miles to come to Ottawa on their own expense to hear if they're going back to jail. And they're not going back to jail, so that's good news. It's a lot less. I was expecting them to throw the book at these two in a way that was instructive to other people to prevent other people from behaving in the same way, et cetera, et cetera. But they got sentences where they can have jail at home. So jail at home. And there's what's it called? Conditions, et cetera. So we'll get to all of that first thing. Nothing achieved with the trade mission to the United States. Carney went down to the United States and got nothing because, of course he did. Because fundamentally, Trump wants to put pressure on Canada, and he doesn't want Canada's products. He wants it made in the USA, and he's said as much multiple times. So I wasn't expecting Canada to get anything. There were people who were expecting Canada to get a deal on steel and aluminum and even softwood. People were saying you're going to get steel and aluminum and no softwood. People were saying that's not enough. So it's a quite interesting trade negotiation. We hold no cards. We hold absolutely no cards whatsoever. The United States can go to almost anybody to get almost anything they want. Sure, we may be cheaper or we may be a better deal, but I have a feeling there's a message that Trump's sending. Although the motorboating going on between Trump and Carney and Trump is just wild. I'll show you lots and lots of footage of it. We are back to $100 billion deficit, so we've got to talk about cooking the books and the way the government is planning to present the budget. They're splitting operating costs and budgetary costs. And they're saying we're gonna balance the operational budget by a certain date, but they're very cagey on what that date is and what that actually looks like, because I don't think they're going to balance anything at all. And birthright citizenship must be repealed, says Michelle Rempel-Garner, and it's wild and crazy times because, I mean, that's an unlikely place for that kind of rhetoric to come from, right? Michelle Rempel-Garner is one of the most liberal conservative MPs in the cabinet. So or in the shadow cabinet. Anyway, so there's lots to get to. Let's get to it. First, we have to get to Tamara Lich, Chris Barber, and Randy Hillier makes an appearance in this judicial grab bag this morning. So sentencing, Right Blend says standing ovation for Tamara Lich and Chris Barber in the courtroom after the matter ends. Pretty wild stuff. The whole thing is the government doesn't have the citizens on their side. Nobody's calling for Chris Barber or Tamara Lich's head. Everybody's, I think, going to be very critical of the government, and people would have been upset if either Tamara Lich or Chris Barber got jail time or were put back in prison for what happened years ago now. This has been a farce of a trial, right? Vesper highlights how big of a failure this is for Justin Trudeau. He's bad and he should feel bad, Trudeau. Vesper says, to be clear, Justin Trudeau's Emergency Act yielded no jail time for protesters after 3 years of prosecution and millions of dollars in costs for court costs, for the prosecution from the government, all sorts of money, like just money. B, was found illegal. As soon as it was found illegal, it should nullify all the charges that stemmed from it. It was illegal for the government to do it in the first place. There should be no charges for anything around anything, period, right? It was illegal for the government to call the Emergencies Act to end this protest. They are part of the reason things went out of control. C, wasted millions of dollars for taxpayers. Yep. And D, divided Canadians. Keep failing at everything you do, Liberal Party, except maintaining control of the country, right? So we should priorities, right? Maxime Bernier is responding to Jason Levine. Jason Levine highlights some of the main charges for Tamara and Chris. Bernier says this is much better than the ridiculous 7 years in jail demanded by the Crown, but it's still excessive and unfair. Neither of them should have been found guilty of anything. Meanwhile, all those who systemically violated our rights during the COVID years got off scot-free. Exactly. All of the people in charge who said safe and effective, if you don't take this, you can't take the bus. If you don't take this, you can't go on a plane, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They all failed up. Everybody can't remember all of the terrible things they did during COVID, all the tyranny that was rolled out. They just want to, reward people who didn't sell out their fellow tyrants, I guess. Jason Levine highlights the not all of the charges. He's got other conditions. I was like, dude, come on. I'm trying to tell people what happened here, not just clickbait. Breaking news, says Jason, Chris Barber and Tamara Lich sentenced. Barber 18 months conditional sentence, remains within jurisdiction of the court unless written permission, 12-month house arrest, once per week allowed out for 5 hours for necessities of life, other conditions. Tamara Lich got 18 months conditional sentence with credit of 74 days time served, remain within the jurisdiction of the court unless written permission, 12 months house arrest, once per week allowed out for 5 hours, necessities of life. Once per week, just not to say it isn't enough, but I don't think it's enough. Like for 5 hours, like you could do twice a week for 3 hours each. I think that'd probably be better than once a week for 5 hours. When I go grocery shopping, I go for the next couple of days. I don't go for a week, generally, just me personally. Anyway, Ezra Levant is highlighting all of the charges. Justice Perkins McVeigh issued brutal sentences to trucker convoy organizer Tamara Lich. Conditional sentence of 18 months. First 12 months house arrest, except to and from court, medical emergencies or appointments, religious service, 5 hours a week for shopping. 5 hours a week, so it doesn't have to be consecutive. You don't have to go out 5 hours all consecutive. You could go out like 1 hour to the grocery store, because I would do that. That's probably preferential. Anyway, can go to her coming grandchild's birth, remains 3.5 months curfew between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. except for medical emergencies. 100 hours community service. 100 hours community service? I don't understand that. That seems... petty's not the right word. Justice Center for Constitutional Freedom says Chris Barber has been handed an 18-month conditional sentence. That sentence will be served in the community, not prison. Chris must remain on his own property during the first 12 months of his sentence and must observe a curfew between 10 and 5 a.m. Oh, it says in brackets, except for employment or legal or medical or religious engagements. So he's a trucker. Presumably he can be trucking while he's working. Justice Heather Perkins stated that Mr. Barber came with the noblest of intent and did not advocate for violence. Justice Perkins McVeigh, emphasized the peaceful nature of the 22 Freedom Convoy, describing it as a nonviolent protest, no property damage, no intent to harm critical infrastructure. She noted that Chris moved his own truck and encouraged others to do the same, consistently promoting cooperation with law enforcement. A detailed analysis will follow shortly. So there you go. If you do everything like that, you'll still get screwed, right? So here's the lawyer, and he's talking. He's asked, do you think this is a success? And man, I didn't realize this was 9 minutes. I thought it was a minute. Sorry, everyone. I have a bunch of videos this morning. He's asked if he thought that this was a success. And he says, in the context of, we came here with the intent to not let them go back into a jail cell, with them not to see the inside of a jail cell. And by that measure, it was a success. But he would have felt better if they hadn't been convicted at all. So, or you know what I'm saying, not had any kind of jail time at all. So yeah, I agree. Here's Right Blend, and he's got a whole blow-by-blow accounting of the whole court situation, and I thought it was pretty good. So I'm just highlighting the work I watched through Right Blend's coverage, and I thought that's worthwhile promoting. I don't think there's anything. He's the one who spoke with the lawyer. He's the one who's been kind of right there on the ground. Usually Dacey's with him, but Dacey's out at the ostrich farm, right? So it's one of those things. Pierre Poilievre finally finds the name Tamara Lich and Chris Barber. He says Tamara Lich and Chris Barber peacefully protested the imposition of emergency measures that the federal court found to be unlawful and unconstitutional. Instead of pursuing rapists, drug dealers, and other monsters, the Crown sought lengthy prison sentences. Justice Perkins McVeigh rightly rejected the Crown's request and sent Tamara and Chris home to their families. We must get to a justice system that ensures the security and freedom of all Canadians. I wish Chris and Tamara a peaceful and happy life. So yeah, a little too late, if you ask me personally. It's a little bit strange to have Pierre Poilievre wait until the whole thing is done and dusted before he says anything at all about it. Right? I don't know. It's just one of those things. GM Forbes says Chris Barber gets 18 months conditional sentence. Lich gets 15 months conditional sentence, both to be served in the community. Lich serves 74 days in prison. The lady who left Canada to join ISIS, then begged to come back, was sentenced to 1 day in custody. So we're not a serious country. Our justice system is not a serious system, I think, personally. Here is Randy Hillier, also has good news. Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms is breaking this. Prosecutors in Smith Falls, Ontario have entered a stay of proceedings against former MPP Randy Hillier under the Reopening Ontario Act for alleged COVID gathering violations. This follows similar charges being withdrawn by prosecutors in Leeds and Granville County and in Peterborough last month, bringing all charges against Mr. Hillier to an end. The Justice Center extends sincere thanks to the thousands of Canadians who contributed to fund Mr. Hillier's legal defense over the years. Your support makes this victory possible. Yep. It's definitely good to see that Mr. Hillier is not facing charges. Maybe he'll put together a political party that will challenge Doug Ford. And just a quick update on what I was talking about yesterday, Ford's controversy, et cetera, et cetera. It looks like it's pretty well going away. Like, it looks like, I thought it was pretty serious, and apologies that I misread the room, but I thought it was pretty serious, and they're going to say, okay, cool, carry on. So Rubicon, oh well. I guess I'll let you know if that changes. If things start picking up and heating up, meaning like if I start seeing it cross my desk and things, then I'll certainly pick the story back up. But it seems like it's just going to be a nothing burger and go away. So there you go. No bumps at all. Here is our deficit, and they're cooking the books. And one of the reasons they're cooking the books, the main reason that they're cooking the books, and it's important to understand, they're not cooking the books really for our benefit. They're not cooking the books because they're worried you and me might get really upset about a $100 million deficit or something like that. They don't care. They're reporting on $100 billion deficit. Sorry, billion. I said million, but I meant billion. They're reporting on $100 billion deficit now. They're like, oh yeah, definitely $100 billion. When we said $60 billion, that didn't include everything. So they're talking about that. They're not worried about our reaction. They are absolutely not worried about our reaction. What they want to do, the thing they want to achieve by cooking the books in Canada, is they want more room to borrow more money. Okay. If they didn't do this, if they didn't break the budget into two and have this operational thing and this investment thing, then they wouldn't be able to justify borrowing money to pump into the investment thing. And they wouldn't have any collateral to secure the debt with to actually to get banks to be on board with the borrowing. And so what they're going to do is they're going to say, see this road here? Yeah. We call it the 401. This road, we're going to invest money in it. And now that investment is going to yield, $200 billion in revenue over the next 10 years or something like that. This road is worth that much money. And so that much money can now be added onto the national debt. We've got this money. This money is baked into our infrastructure. It's our money. We can definitely borrow against it. It's our house, right? We're not going to spend too much money to lose the house, right? We can afford it. We put a pool out back, right? Infrastructure. We're going to borrow against that. That's why they're doing this. They want to borrow more money. And the only way they can borrow more money is if they do this bullshit justification. But they're not worried about our reaction. They don't give a shit. Toronto Sun is reporting Canada's deficit to surge to $100 billion, according to National Bank chief economist. Who knows, right? We will wait until November 4th to find out. Maybe it'll be $200 billion by then. Right? There's time. Oh my gosh, 28 days? How much money does Ukraine need? This I thought was also funny. This part of the article is seemingly critical of the $100 billion deficit. But this part of the article is like, that's cool. It's fine. It sounds good. We like it. Mm-hmm. So weird, right? One of Canada's major lenders says Prime Minister Mark Carney will push the country's deficit to about 3% of its gross domestic product, GDP, as his government pursues major projects and tries to attract more investment. Stéphane Marion, National Bank of Canada's chief economist, said he expects Ottawa's fiscal shortfall will reach $100 billion this fiscal year, more than double the $42 billion the government forecast in December. $100 billion deficit? That's crazy. How many countries don't even have a budget of $100 million? We're overspending by $100 million. Ha, 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 ha. Speaking at Bloomberg's Canadian Finance Conference on Tuesday, Marion called Carney's upcoming fiscal update on November 4th the most consequential budget in a generation after a decade of suboptimal economic policy. Oh, that's putting it softly. Suboptimal. Oh, it's just optimals here and we're, we're way down here. Suboptimal. My gosh. Canada's deficits are in a relatively good position compared to other group of 7 countries, he said. We do have some fiscal room when you compare Canada to the rest of the world, Marion said. We should not waste it. Marion is among a growing chorus of economists and business leaders who are optimistic about the government's plans to invest in infrastructure, defense, and housing to help boost Canada's sagging productivity. Yes, we're investing in all of this so we can borrow more money. Table Salt says this is how ludicrous Carney's new Brookfield-style capital budgeting fund fraud accounting is. He is saying that if the government buys, say, Indigenous roads or water treatment systems, that's not really a cost to taxpayers because the government could someday sell them. So this is worth money, and maybe we'll sell that road one day, and that road's worth a couple $100 billion. We're just betting against that. We're putting up money, we're borrowing money against that. And what could happen, right? What could happen to billions of dollars? What happened when Ontario invested? And this is not me coming up with this. This is Dan McTeague coming up with this. So valid point though. If you invest money in a shit coin, right? Say you invest $100 billion in Fartcoin and then Fartcoin goes to zero. Well, your $100 billion is gone. right? And say you invest in a battery plant. Say you invest in a battery plant that declares bankruptcy. Your $100 billion is gone. Oh, and it's gone. Oh, and it's gone again, right? Oh, and it's gone. So what? We're just playing Russian roulette. Put it all on black. Oh, do we have any more money? We'll be back. We'll have more money, and we're going to put it all on black again because we've got one move. Dan McTeague is responding to Bruce McGonigal. Bruce McGonigal says, Minister of Finance and National Revenue. Champagne says the government will change how they report the spending. So he's responding to this. And he says, Lion, Northvolt, Bright Drop, and no U.S. electric car mandates means billions of dollars borrowed, invested in EVs now vanishes, gone, poof. It's still a debt, though. No reasonable chance for recovery. It's gone. The money is gone, wasted. We are not getting that back, right? Like the millions of dollars that went into all of those battery plants, poof, gone. So what do we get for that? We get Ford moving production of cars, or is it GM? GM moving production of cars down to the United States. Ford's still making their F-Ford 150, right? In Oshawa, I think they're still doing that there. Until they're not, though, right? And Trump's making it difficult to say no, especially when the business environment in Canada is so unfriendly. So Dan McTeague, again, is responding to this. And this is question and answer of Champagne, who is our finance minister. And he's saying, well, he's trying to get a question answered. Champagne's saying he's already answered the question. And he's like, well, just humor me. Like, what's the answer? Can you tell me one more time? I don't know where the answer is. And could you tell me? And he doesn't. He just keeps saying, well, I've already answered you. So, you should know. And if you ever get into a fight and they say, you should know why I'm upset, right? Like, then get out of that relationship.
Budget will be a generational investment in the future of this country, and you're going to be happy, Mr. Kelly, because there'll be a lot for you to talk about to your people in Alberta.
But if you don't mind, Minister, would you answer my question? In what year will it be balanced?
And like I said, I've already responded to this question, but what you're going to see is generational investments to put this country on a path for
the
strongest economy in the G7.
Minister, you may have responded to the question, but you haven't answered it. So I'm asking you, since this is a parliamentary committee, if you would answer the question. In what year will the budget balance?
I've already answered that question. You can ask me as many times as you want, sir, but the answer is going to be very similar to what I've told you before. I've already answered that question, and we've been very clear that we're going to be balancing the operating budget by 28-29.
Okay. Minister, it's correct. You have been asked this question many times, including by me. You have responded many times. You have never answered it. You have just now said something about an operating budget. So I understand that you are distracting Canadians with accounting rule changes, but I'd like you to answer. I'll give you one more chance to answer my question. When will the budget be balanced?
I've heard you very well, and I think it's irresponsible for a member of parliament to suggest the question you've been asking. The deficit and the debt will be calculated and presented as it has always been in accordance with the accounting principle. So I would say Canadians are watching that, and they're watching you carefully. What we're saying, they understand it. I just did a press conference, and I trust you. Canadians understand that.
He says the operating budget's going to be balanced in 28-29, but balanced against what, he can't really say. So there's no real answers coming here, and they keep saying you should be ashamed of yourself for suggesting these things, blah, 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 blah. But I think they should be ashamed of themselves for bringing these things forward as policy, honestly. Andy Lee says you're giving your money to billionaires at the World Economic Forum. Why is someone from Global Affairs Canada on their steering group? So the Global Alliance for Trade Facilitation is Global Affairs Canada thing, and in line with the WEF, and it says project number whatever, maximum contribution 1.5 million, partner profile World Economic Forum, start and end dates. So the February of 25 was the start date, and April of 28 is the end date. No date given, like April something, April blank. Project status operational, Global Affairs Canada. That could just be Andy Lee's screenshot though too. Global Affairs Canada, RFM, Strategy, Policy, and Public Affairs. So I don't know what the company is. Like, I'm not exactly sure. The World Economic Forum. Oh, is this the connection here? This is the connection. World Economic Forum connection. Global Affairs or Global Alliance for Trade Facilitation Phase 2. Description: the Global Alliance for Trade Facilitation is a public-private partnership that brings together governments and businesses as equal partners to deliver targeted trade facilitation reforms that enhance the speed, cost efficiency, ease, and predictability of cross-border trade. So there you go. WEF has their fingers in the cross-border trade pie. Oh, I'm shocked. I'm absolutely shocked. Really? And we're spending money on this. So pretty scary stuff. And I think that we're getting screwed at every single level. Here is, I think this guy's related to Cian Bexte. David Bexte is taking the Prime Minister to task because of his failures on the economy.
The Prime Minister keeps breaking his promises. He said Canada would be an energy superpower, yet will not greenlight a single pipeline. He promised the fastest growing economy in the G7, but now we got the fastest shrinking. He said he would create jobs, but 86,000 are gone. Enbridge is calling out the Liberal anti-energy policy and is building 2 new pipelines in the United States. Does the Prime Minister understand that his war on Canadian energy is sending good-paying jobs to the U.S.? Hear, hear.
He's sending good-paying jobs to Brookfield in the U.S., so no problem, right? No problem. With that, we've got to say goodbye to the stream. Thanks for watching, everybody. I think that I've got a solution if my Streamable doesn't work today. Sorry about yesterday. Everybody, there were people, in desperation, because nothing was working yesterday morning. Nothing at all was working. Some things were working. I could upload to Spotify. I could upload to Locals. I could upload the short show to BitChute and Odyssey. I was able to stream to everything but Facebook. So like the streaming looked okay. But when I tried to upload to Streamable, it didn't work. When I tried to upload to Substack, it didn't work. And it doesn't work this morning either. When I tried to upload to Wistia or other video lockers that deal with distribution for video, it didn't work. And so I contacted Rogers. I was on with Rogers. I was like, I don't understand. I can upload to Google Drive, but I can't upload the same file to Substack or Wistia. I've never had an account with Wistia. So there's no reason. Usually it works once, right? And usually you can't target one file like that. That would be the level of censorship would have to be just unbelievable. Like I'd have to be really, really paranoid to believe that I matter that much, that they're monitoring at that level, because there's a lot of internet traffic. Finding one file and preventing that one file from being uploaded to all video sharing platforms, regardless of if I've ever used them before or not, that's not usual. That's not normal. So I thought maybe there was a problem with Rogers. So I contacted Rogers. No problem with Rogers, they said. I said, can you elevate my ticket? This is what's happening. It doesn't seem to make sense. And then I thought maybe there's an AWS bucket. AWS often will be the infrastructure backend for a front end like Wistia. Wistia, it's like a white glove thing. Wistia dealing with the AWS, and then the business just uploads their video. They don't have to do the setup of the AWS, and everybody's pretty well happy, right? Wistia takes money. They do the administration of the Wistia. They deliver the videos. Everybody's happy. So